Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Sunday and Happy New Year. This is the first recording of this new year. I want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as seasoned. I got a word for you. Tap in. So guys, I'm sure you're looking at the picture of Devon, and I'm going to share a few words with that. But before I start, I want to say really quickly, because I received an email from a young lady that encouraged me to add this into the recording. Here's the thing. A lot of people are still lingering with the same feelings and emotions that they carried over from 2021. They still feel like they're waiting on God. They still feel like in this limbo state of what God is doing, and they don't feel comfortable. And I wanted to share this really quickly. Sometimes people get a new year mixed up as a new season. You can still be in a certain season, and when the new year come in, that doesn't change that season. So let's just say, for an example, you're in a season of waiting, right? And so you may even know that you're towards the ending of that season, but you're still waiting on that open door, that blessing to be released. So sometimes we get caught up in the fact that, oh, it's a new year. And one day it's a new year. So we want to assume that that new year means that door should open or that blessing should be released because it's January 1st. No, seasons are seasons, years are years. So please be careful that you don't get those two mixed up, because what happened is, because it's a new year and you still feel like you're still lingering in 2021, you're going to get very frustrated and very disappointed, because you feel like you just haven't seen anything yet. Also, sis, listen, can we have an honest moment here? Can we have an honest moment here? It's just not you. It's me and a whole lot of others, if we're going to be honest. At least people I know, the people I speak with, and people I listen to, you are not the only one who don't know what in the world is God doing. It is the reason why it's uncomfortable, because we're human. We're like, listen, we're used to kind of being able to kind of feel our way through things, right? And control the narrative at times. Nobody can control what's going on right now, and it's very uncomfortable. Some of us are going to be literally held up until the very last second of the open door. Not the last month, not the last couple of days, the very last second. So if God has given you a word, stand on that word. I know it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good because you don't know what he's doing. You feel stuck. You feel like you're in quicksand, and you feel like you're stuck in mud. You can't go left. You can't go right. You can't go back. You can't go forward. You have no answers. This is where your faith is going to have to be planted at. You're going to have to say, you know what? God, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. Please forgive me, and I repent for keep putting my hands in. If you're like me, right, the doer, having to always be doing something, and God have told you to sit idle because he's working some things out, and before you know it, okay, God, I trust you. I'm going to just sit here and mind my business. And 2 minutes later, you're sitting here clicking on something, or trying to make something happen, or trying to figure it out. Let's have an honest moment here. That's your girl up over here, right? Let's have an honest moment. Well, first of all, you're going to get convicted when you do. You're going to get convicted when you do that. So repent immediately and step back. And guess what? You may do it again 2 days later, trying to get your hands up. God knows his children. He don't pay us no mind. But we're prolonging our own process, because again, the more we put our hands in it, the more he steps back. It's like, okay, you got it, then do what you do, boo. Right? All right. So yeah, I just wanted to say that just in this season right here, first and foremost, again, understand that you're not alone. It's at least 98% of the people that I know, that I listen, that I talk to, whatever. Everybody is in this comfortable place of not knowing what's next. That can be another move. That can be another job. That can be stuck in a marriage. That people are stuck right now, or feel stuck, I should say. Feel stuck. So just, if God, all caps, God have given you a word, stay planted on that word. Stay planted on that word, and just know that he gave you the word. He gave you the promise, but he never told you when or how you would get there. All right, Devon, Pastor Devon. Is it pastor or bishop? I think it's Pastor Devon. So this picture that you're looking at, he shared on his IG last night. And it's obviously a picture of him, very emotional about 2021. And I'm sure that his divorce or pending divorce, if they're not currently divorced, has a lot to do with that. And being the empath that I am, my fellow empaths, tap in. You can look at a picture like this right here, and boom, it literally shifts your spirit. You could be in the middle of cleaning a house, right? Listening to your jazz saxophone. That's what I do when I'm cleaning. And it will literally shift your spirit just by looking at the picture. You don't even have to read the words yet. You feel it. You feel his brokenness. So I say all that to say that marriages are definitely under attack. I have so many associates, friends, even one business partner. Marriages are under attack heavily. Actually, a couple of them are currently separated. And these were people who really seemed to be very happy. But I mean, of course, there's no 100% of happiness every day in marriage, but they seem to be pretty planted. But now it's like, guys, my allergies are acting up. So if I'm over here sounding like a horse, please forgive me, right? Okay. So because times are drawing in nearer, Satan is like amping up his work, his distractions, his attacks, all those things. And of course, when you have a union together, they're able to reach more. Let's take Devon and Megan, for example. How many people, lives, in marriages, engagements, have they blessed? Even hopes for some singles. Right? Doing kingdom work. So is Satan just going to be okay with that? And this is just not about Devon and Megan, but of course for us everyday people. Satan's not going to be happy with that, especially because times are really starting to zoom on in. So he is doing everything in his power to attack marriages, to keep people from their blessings and open doors, as well as kingdom partners, purpose partners who have not arrived yet, because he knows the impact it will have in these last days. So a lot of people are getting shook to the core in their marriages, and they're walking away from it or choosing divorce. And again, I'm not even saying left or right, if you should do it, if you shouldn't do it. I'm not, this is not even about that topic. It's more about understanding what he's doing. If you can stay and zoom in and stay focused on the fact that he's attacking it for a certain reason, right? Then that right there will kind of give you the willpower to fight more. It's almost like, wait a minute, I know without a doubt this is a blessing from God. So even though it's stink right now, I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I'm going to think back when I wanted this marriage so bad, and I knew from the very beginning that this person was my purpose partner, right? I'm going to go back to all those feelings from the beginning. But Satan won't do that. He'll have you focusing on the stinkness of it all right now. So I want to encourage those of you, if you're going through, spiritual attacks and different attacks and things like that, just, get in your word, stay filled up in the spirit, whichever way that is for yourself. Stay planted and stay rooted. If you've heard a word from God, if you have not heard a word from God, turn off all your distractions, fast, pray, do whatever you have to do. Because right now, again, Satan is attacking anything, any unions or even potential unions that will be a benefit to the kingdom going forward. Next thing. Sadly, there were a few people, well, a good bit of people, who had something to say about Devon showing emotions as a man. The one thing that I could never understand, even since I was a very, very young girl, why were men taught not to show emotions? Now, again, I'm not speaking on if someone stole your toy, right? I'm not speaking on if you bump your big toe. I'm not speaking on that. I'm speaking on men who are genuinely hurt, who are genuinely going through it. The same things that we go through. They feel the same things we feel. So it's not like we feel hurt and men only get 10% of that hurt. One thing I know, men hurt deeper, right? And that's not to dismiss our pain, but men hurt deeper because they love deeper. They don't even love as often. So when they're hurt, when they have a broken heart, that's heavy. And whatever way he needs to express that, he should be able to express that in his own truth of not feeling like he's going to be judged because he's a man and he should not cry or be emotional. He's a man, not a machine. And it was really sad that you had people who felt like that. Even some men. Why are you crying on camera? Why are you crying behind a woman? What do you mean? Now, if he stayed in his house and cried and never expressed any of that stuff and could potentially have harmed himself, now everybody's speaking a different story. Be okay with people in their vulnerability. Allow a safe space for people to feel comfortable wherever that is. Please, all caps, please, if you're a woman and you have men of any sorts, siblings, husband, fiance, boo thing, whatever, please make sure that you allow a safe space for them to have a moment of vulnerability, and you never, ever, all caps, ever throw that thing back up in their face. Because if you do, he will never ever have that moment with you again, but he will have it with somebody else. Take that how you want to take it. Catch that in the spirit. Point blank period. We as women have to understand that men, you know one thing, that being so connected to men, because I'm called men are way more sensitive than we think. They're more sensitive than women. But again, they just were conditioned to hide it. So you have all these uncles, right? If they didn't have father figures, and if they did, you have all these fathers, uncles, granddads, cousins that men looked up to growing up, right? I hear a lot of men, like they can have 15 uncles. But there's always that one uncle that they admire. Some of them, of course, is their dad, but as we know, many of them didn't even have solid, well, even if the father wasn't solid, some men still really admire and are very fond of that male figure in their lives. So I remember having a conversation with this guy a couple of years ago. And he was just telling me how basically, of course, his generational conditioning, his dad, his uncle, and his this and that, they all had children outside of the marriage, some on the same street, all this other stuff, right? But one of those women got his heart. Out of all the women he were dealing with, one of those women got his heart. He fell in love. And she wasn't the good girl. She wasn't the other good girls were the one that he hurt and he left in the whole 9 yards. So anyway, he left all that stuff aside and he decided to quote unquote settle down with the good girl. I'm sorry, with the bad girl, but left the good girls, which is pretty common, if I'm honest, right? But if you got some sense, the men who have some sense or who are already, grown men, then it's usually the opposite. But whatever, we're talking about a different scenario right now. So I remember he was really having a vulnerable moment. I mean, he was hurt. He was hurt. And I let him express himself, of course. And then I had to have an honest moment with him, right? So after a couple of days, and I called him back. I said, can I ask you a question? I said, all the women that you were dating at the time when you fell in love with that particular young lady, what happened to all those other ones? He was like, oh, I just changed my number. Oh, I was gone. I ain't gonna lie, I was gone. I was whipped. I changed my number. Like, I moved out of town with her. None of them ever even got any type of closure. Okay, so that's a group of women right there that you left pretty much with no closure and definitely wounded. And that were just the women that you were dating in the time when you met this young lady. So this is not even in addition to all the women you've hurt all the years prior. Oh, no. I'm going to keep it real, My papa was a Rolling Stone. I was a Rolling Stone. I received that. Conditioning is conditioning. You only know what you know, right? But at the same time, you do understand law of attraction, karma, whatever you want to call it, right? And again, for myself, I don't always deem karma to be a bad thing. The way I explained it to him was, all right, so at some point, where did this train stop? Do you just one day and say, okay, I'm going to just stop without hitting some type of brakes? So sometimes karma is about you needing to feel exactly what you gave so you won't do it again. Because see, it's not that you learn your lesson, you just fell in love. But now when this woman leaves you, what she did, but when this woman leaves you, you're going back to who you were prior to her because you never learned the principles. You just got caught up for a moment. So sometimes God will allow us to feel the very hurt that we gave so we can truly understand what it feels like. And so then I said to him, so your uncles and your cousins and your brothers who taught you how to be, quote unquote, Papa is a Rolling Stones, were the same men who didn't teach you how to handle that hurt when one of those women hurt you. So this is why you can't get up off of this floor. This is why you can't eat. This is why you're in a major depression. Because those same uncles who prepared you for all the bad chicks were the same uncles who never told you that a day would come when one of those women will leave you, and it's going to be the one who's not the good girl. But many good men like bad girls. Of course, that's not all. And he got quiet and he was like, and you know what's crazy, quote unquote, a couple of my uncles have been hurt. It was not by their wives. It was by the outside. He was telling me this. It was by the outside women. And maybe the outside women cheated on them or just eventually moved on. And those were the ones that they really got hurt over. So they've experienced that hurt. You're right. Why you never put me on in that game? Well, go ask your uncle. Go ask your uncle. And I'm not trying to be funny or seriously, go ask your uncle because I can't answer that. But that is a question you go have with your uncles. Like, listen, you put me on how to get this chick, that chick, this chick, but you didn't put me on that when one of these chicks leave me, how this heartbreak gonna feel. You didn't put me on that the bad chick is going to be the one that hurt me, but the good, stable one at home is going to be the one who keep it real. And then she's going to eventually have enough and leave me, and that's going to hurt just as well, but not as much as the one who I was fool up over. And I'm not saying that's Devon's issue. I don't even know where that came from. So somebody must have needed that tap in. I'm not saying that's Devon's issue. Devon's whole thing was more about understanding that marriages are under attack, and about men knowing that it's okay and feeling safe to show and express their emotions without feeling judged. That was the main scenario about Devon and Megan. Also, sometimes things aren't even permanent, but it feels that way at the time. Who knows what next year may even this year, God may give someone a revelation and say, hey, I just had to shake it up because you need it in alignment. Because sometimes when we're caught up, without even being intentional, we make our spouses our God. And it's not even intentional. It just, So sometimes God got to shake things up to say, all right, let me get some things back aligned here, because obviously y'all slipping right now. Y'all slipping right now. And he may bring it back. In general, he may bring it back. But it feels permanent at the time. Heartbreak needs to be grieved. And there's different stages of grieving. So, I don't know, guys. I don't even know. Like, this really went left. But normally when that happens, then, somebody needed it. So I just hope that can bless somebody. And again, sis, who I originally, not originally, because the original recording was going to be about Devon, but I saw the email before I started talking about the Devon and Megan Good. But yes, sis, you're not the only one who feels stuck. You're not the only one. So many people. Just all I can give you is this right here. Stay in the moment. Meaning, stay in today. Stay in what you're supposed to be doing today. Don't think about where you got to do tomorrow, or where you're going to be moving tomorrow, or where door will open tomorrow. Don't think about that. Don't think about yesterday. Stay planted in the day. Turn off all your distractions so you can hear your downloads and what you should be doing in today. That's hard for a lot of people. For me too. Just staying in today. Don't worry about tomorrow. That will take care of itself. You guys have a great one. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.